Today, guys, not only am I an angry chef, I'm also sad, confused, slightly in mourning. Firstly, I'd like to send my deepest condolences to the friends and family of Sarah Everard. I have respect for you guys and for my viewers who come here to find the truth. I'm only going to give you the facts today around the circumstance of her death, not my opinion. I'll give you the facts as I've managed to find them so far. It's not a lot. I'm not a detective. I'm just trying to be a reporter. So, before we get into it, guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I try and put as much time and effort into this as I can. Obviously, without being monetized on YouTube yet. It's all for free. I don't say I'm a good Samaritan. I feel it's important you guys get these facts though, so hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, don't forget to turn notifications on, and tell all your friends and family. So who was Sarah Everard? From the Evening Standard, we have this article from 10 hours ago titled, "Who was Sarah Everard and what do we know about her?" They go on to say, popular, beautiful, strong and incredibly kind. These are just some of the words and phrases used to describe the 33-year-old by family and friends over the last week and a half. The marketing executive grew up in York, where she attended nearby comprehensive Fulford School. Her old headmaster, Steve Lewis, this week called Everard a popular and well-liked member of our community and a lovely, bright, intelligent girl who shone within the school. Everard later studied human geography at St Cuthbert's College at Durham University from 2005 till 2008, before moving to London and starting work as a marketing account manager. Like many graduates, she chose to live in Brixton, a popular flat share hotspot among young professionals. Pictures show her holding a medal in a running kit, a popular activity on nearby Clapham Common. As she was photographed wearing orange on running shoes and green Bluetooth headphones on the evening she went missing. Where did she work? Everard worked at several marketing PR agencies since moving, graduating from senior account manager to group account director between 2009 and 2020, according to LinkedIn. Last month, she started a new job at Flipside Group, a digital media agency based in Holborn. On her LinkedIn profile, Everard describes herself as a positive presence with a caring attitude for her working team. Friends say she'd been looking forward to starting the new position. Who was Sarah Everard's boyfriend? Everard's boyfriend has been part of the story from the beginning. When details of her disappearance were released last weekend, police confirmed that she had made a 15-minute phone call to her boyfriend after leaving her friend by Clapham Common. They ended the call after arranging to meet. He raised the alarm to police the next day when his girlfriend failed to turn up. CCTV from an estate agent on the corner of the street where she lives showed no signs of her passing and returning to her flat. Boyfriend has been named as Josh Louth, 33, a marketing director at a company that organises trade shows called MA Exhibitions. According to his LinkedIn page, Louth lives just a couple of streets from Everard in Brixton. Like many of Everard's friends, Louth has been front and centre of the search to find her. On Monday, the Sun newspaper shared a screenshot of his Facebook status, urging people to share the post about his girlfriend. "Today more than ever, we miss our strong, beautiful friend," he wrote, alongside the hashtag International Women's Day and an illustration from artist Charlie Maxey begging people to join the search. He also changed his profile picture to the words, "Find Sarah Everard." So there's a little bit of a background into who she was. It's hard to say, but that's all I could find. That's her, just an average woman going about her business, and it's a good way to segue onto the accused. So a lot of the information I've managed to find so far on the accused is coming from Ruth Villacuse of Gangland and Prison Related Facebook page. Don't forget to check them out and like their page. They come up with loads of good videos, loads of good information. If you're interested in stories like this, she's constantly posting interesting information that can help you get in-depth facts like I'm trying to bring you here. So she goes on to say, the police officer now charged with abducting and murdering Sarah Everard is Wayne Cousins. Here are 13 more things about him. He was born in Dover, Kent, South East England. He is the son of Ray Cousins, stepson of Corinne Cousins and brother of David Cousins. His uncle Kevin Fowle of Chatham, Kent, described him as a fair, understandable man. In 1990, he started working as a light vehicle body repair technician at his family's garage business, BCB Dover in Western Heights, which was established in 1967 and closed its doors in 2015. In 2006, he married a Ukrainian woman named Elena. I'm going to absolutely murder that name, so I'm going to leave it. Called Elena. Since getting married to her, he has been learning the Ukrainian language and has been visiting Ukraine every year. According to his mother-in-law, Nina of Kirovograd, Ukraine, in 2008 he became a traffic officer with the Kent Police in Folkestone. He lived in a top-floor flat of a converted period property in Folkestone for 3 years. His then landlady, Shanette Roy, said he had only just qualified as a policeman and was working in Dover. He was a nice fellow. The only thing I found strange was when he said he was going over to Ukraine to get his wife and brought her back, she didn't speak very good English. After leaving BBC Dover in 2011, he joined the Civil Nuclear Constabulary and worked at the Dungeness Nuclear Power Station in Kent. In 2015, he and his wife bought a 3-bedroom house in Freeman's Way, Kent, for £200,000. They lived in their house with their 2 children and a small puppy. According to their neighbour Pamela, another neighbour named John Chidwick described him as a nice, well-spoken and friendly bloke. In 2017, he and his family spent a holiday in Ukraine. In 2019, they visited Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. In September 2018, Cousins transferred to the Metropolitan Police Service. He became a member of the Elite Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Squad, which was formed in 2015. Based at the Palace of Westminster in London, he was entitled to carry a firearm and a Metropolitan Police Service warrant card and has provided static security for major public events attended by a royal family's senior members. He is accused of exposing himself to female staff at a McDonald's in South London on February the 28th, 2021, which was captured on closed-circuit television cameras. At 8 p.m. on March the 3rd, 2021, he finished his shift at the United States Embassy in Nine Elms, Vauxhall, London. At around 9:30 p.m. that night, Sarah Everard was last seen alive in Clapham, London. Cousins was 48 years old and a serving Metropolitan Police Service officer when he was arrested at his home in Freeman's Way on March the 9th, 2021. Alina was arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender. He was accused of kidnapping Everard after a rental car linked to him was spotted on a London bus dashcam near to where she was last seen. On March the 10th, 2021, detectives carried out a search of his locker at the police base in the Palace of Westminster, while police searched his home and garden in Freeman's Way and took away a black Seat Exio worth £20,000 on a low loader. On the same day, Everard was found dead in Ashford, Kent, and he was rearrested on suspicion of killing her. On March the 11th, 2021, he was alone in his cell at the Wandsworth police station, where he was found unconscious after suffering serious head wounds. He was given first aid and was rushed to St George's Hospital in Tooting, London. After treatment and a brain scan, he was returned to custody. This fine, upstanding man was trusted to protect the people of London. Like the despicable coward that he is, he adopted a vulnerable young lady in the light and murdered her. And this brings me on to what has transpired since. I'm not going to insult the intelligence of any of my viewers in this episode, anyway. No, by getting into the hashtag blame all men, all that, I'm not going to even entertain it. That can be our poke the woke this week. We'll make some fun of them idiots later in the week. This is more of an informative kind of video, so we're going to try and stick to that. Since it happened, vigils, demonstrations, protests, as I said before, have happened up and down the country. It's quite right that they should. People need to vent their anger. Police's response, however, it's not been ideal. Met Police under a lot of fire. The Met Police Commissioner has been asked to resign. Mass calls for her to resign. She said she would have attended herself if she thought it was lawful. I don't know how people gathering to mourn the death of someone could ever be unlawful. that kind of brings us into the whole point. If you're going to swear an oath to protect the people, to serve the people, then that is what you should do. I think what seems to be happening is most police, let's just say you've got your regular police officer, he's your normal 9 to 5 guy, he goes to work, he goes out on the beat, drives around in his car, he's arresting criminals. He's your normal everyday guy. He's not a murderer, he's not a criminal himself, he's not a dodgy cop, he's just a cop. He goes, he does his job, he goes home, sees his wife and kids, and he takes his salary at the end of the month. Now, up and down the country, since the COVID-19 pandemic began, we have mass unemployment. We have most of the country been on furlough, unsure whether the businesses they worked for will ever reopen again. It's hard times economically, financially for a lot of people. I think a lot of it comes down to the police is if you're given an order that you know is unlawful or maybe morally wrong, is it just the fact they don't care about enforcing those orders as long as they're getting a paycheck? I'm not saying that's right. I think it is a lot of what it could be. You're going to have arseholes. There's a lot of arseholes, let's be honest. There's a lot of arsehole coppers. But I think a lot of it is just scared of losing that paycheck. If the boss tells you those people over there, they're not allowed to do that, you need to go and stop them because that's your job and that's what you're paid to do. You know, maybe that's where the blame all men does come into it. Maybe we shouldn't blame all men for the actions of murderers and rapists and whatever the hell else. Maybe we should blame all men for not growing a pair of balls and standing up. Because if police officers over the weekend had stood up and said to their superiors, those people over there are mourning, those people there are not breaking the law. I refuse to break the law and go and stop them mourning. I will not be a criminal. I've sworn an oath to protect those people. The police officers in many of the situations over the weekend chose not to do that. One tweet I saw from Sussex Police basically saying how bad they felt about the situation. But remember, you will be fined if you gather unlawfully. I just don't see how this can go on. I don't see how this is sustainable. As we know, there's a demonstration planned in London. We're going to try and hope and be there. It's on this Saturday the 20th. We'll bring you footage from that event, trying to interview some people. How's that sense of the feel for how people are emotionally regarding this situation? Combine that with the COVID lockdowns, and it could be an interesting day, that's for sure. Obviously, I hope that everyone there keeps it peaceful. Peaceful civil disobedience is the only way to get the message across. Any violence, no good. You're just going to kill your message straight away. No one wants to know. Look at Black Lives Matter's popularity rating since the riots in America. It's no point. It brings you nothing at all. Peaceful civil disobedience is the way forward. Hopefully we'll be there to capture some of that for you, but if it does get a bit more fiery, hopefully we'll capture that as well. And try and hold the police accountable if they try to do anything that is unlawful. This is the mainstream media. We've got an article here about what happened to the vigil for Sarah Everard the other night. Straight away, the framing of this is just disgusting. Police clash with mourners at Sarah Everard vigil in London. Unofficial event on Clapham Common marred by at least one arrest and confrontations with officers. Now, this is what they do. This is what they do right there. Unofficial event. Since when has mourning ever been an official event? Government sanctioned event, or whatever they want to try and... They go on to say, the evening in South London began in grief and silence as hundreds gathered to remember Sarah Everard and call for changes that will keep others safe. It ended in anger and violence as police trampled flowers and candles laid out in tribute to Everard and tried to silence women speaking out in her memory. Tensions were high before the vigil, which had officially been cancelled after the Metropolitan Police refused to give the organisers a permit. A permit to mourn the life of a woman. That compounded anger at the force, already high after a serving officer was charged with Everard's kidnap and murder. Police initially held back as hundreds of people streamed to the bandstand in Clapham Common, carrying candles and flowers, although a helicopter buzzed overhead. The gatherings may have been called off, but the emotions that broke out in the wake of her killing could not be suppressed. And so they came to mourn Everard's loss and share their fury, from a woman breastfeeding her 2-month-old baby daughter to protest veterans in their 70s, furious that after so many decades they still had to speak out against a culture of endemic violence against women. A culture of endemic violence against women. I'll check who wrote this article, and I will be sending a letter of complaint to The Guardian for this, because this is just the word in here. A culture of endemic violence against women. It's not my culture. It's not the culture I've grew up with. It's not the culture I know. I could be here a long time talking about cultures that have endemic violence against women. We could be here a long time. That's not ours, so this doesn't help. This does not help. I don't know what it is you think you're trying to do, Guardian newspaper, but this does not help. She was just walking home, read one sign. We are the 97%, read another. A reference to a recent survey that found almost all British women had endured harassment. That survey, YouGov polls, I don't know how much any of you know about YouGov polls. YouGov poll, I could literally ask it to only ask women who had been victims of. I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm not saying sexual harassment against women isn't a problem. Sexual violence against women is a big problem, and it's something we all need to deal with. But we also need to deal with all of it. We can't do what the mainstream media are doing and choose to go balls deep in on this Sarah Everard story because it fits the agenda. I have to be very careful how I word this, because we have to be careful what we say on YouTube. When certain other races of certain other men with certain other beliefs were purposely targeting young girls from our culture, we were not allowed to talk about this. Where was the blame all men then? Or do only certain men count? It's for another video anyway. We'll go on with what the Guardian's saying. Many said they were only more determined to come after police effectively banned the vigil. The irony of it is so explicit. Are you going to drag women off the street for protesting about a woman being dragged off the street? Said Deborah Bestwick, 62. The answer to that turned out to be yes. Even though it was clear that images and videos of the policing would only add to public outrage, there was already particular frustration among many women that the gathering outdoors and largely socially distanced had been banned on the grounds of health risks when they were protesting another major threat to their lives. It's dangerous for us to be out as women, regardless of the pandemic, so we wanted to be here, said Ellie, who, like many at the event, didn't want to give her full name because of fears of legal retaliation. At 6 p.m, when the vigil was scheduled to start, a small number of organisers were gathered on the bandstand behind the cordon of flowers, candles and messages left in Everard's memory. A drum prepared the crowd for a minute of silence. Heads bowed, there was then a brief speech by a woman wearing a mask, like most in the crowd. Without audio equipment, her voice could not carry far, and she asked the front of the crowd to shout out each sentence after she spoke, a human amplifier carrying the message to those further back. The women called out to the crowd to say that they had all gathered because of their grief and anger at the senseless killing of Sarah. The crowd repeated the call, so it rang out across the grass that Everard crossed just before her disappearance. We have come here today because after Sarah's disappearance, the police told women that they should stay at home to avoid being attacked. Women say no. As she spoke, police began pushing their way on the bandstand, some of them trampling the tributes, and tried to push the speakers aside. After a roar of fury from the crowd, including boos and shouts of "Keep your hands off my sister," the speech was allowed to continue. Well, officers then flooded the bandstand, told the crowd to disperse, even though the gathering had been peaceful and largely masked, and started threatening to arrest those who stayed. After violent confrontations with protesters shouting "arrest your own" and "shame on you," at least one woman was handcuffed and taken away to a police van. We're here to show solidarity and support because we shouldn't be able to walk home alone and be safe, said Sally, 25, after officers threatened her and her friend with arrest if they didn't leave the area near the bandstand. Them being there and doing this, there was no need. People are wearing masks and socially distancing. They are showing brutality. Sorry, I think I made a mistake there. She stated we should be able to walk home alone and safe. And you're right, you should. So should all of us. Whilst, like I said before, sexual crimes against women are a big problem. Would I personally walk through a park in the centre of London late at night on my own without being a little scared? Probably not. And I mean, I'm a 30-year-old man. Should we lock all women in their houses? No, definitely not. We should hold men accountable to come out and protect women. That's what we're supposed to do. Be our wives, daughters, mothers. We should be there to protect them. If we have failed in our society and in our systems to do that, we need to find ways to change it. We'll save the blaming all men thing for another video, but I just want to round this video up today by again sending my condolences to the family. The mainstream media will make the most of this, as they do everything. But I think now isn't the time for fighting with the mainstream media. Now is the time to mourn and to think, how do we want to be policed? Really? Or do we want officers who will just blindly follow orders, disperse crowds of mourners just for the money? Or do we want police with integrity? Police who have the guts, because you don't just blame all men for this, you blame police women as well. They would have broke the law by following those orders. We need police officers that will say no, that will say, I am not breaking the law to enforce your unlawful laws. And the irony of it all, the Met Police Commissioner is a woman. So, yes, men carried out her unlawful orders, but they were her orders. She gave those orders, they carried them out. Is there blame on both sides? Yes. Should we be in this situation where this needs to even be a question at all? No. We'll save the rest for another video. There's the fact, guys. If you enjoyed this video, if you think what I'm doing is important, if you think people need to know this information, don't forget to share. Sharing this video is the best thing you can do. I'm not hoping to make myself rich off this. I'm not hoping to make loads of money. What I am hoping to do is share as much information with people as I can in a way that they may be able to take in easier than trying to sift through the rubbish that is the mainstream media. Have a good evening, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.